Welcome to Production Expert, my name's Dan Cooper. I've got myself a copy of LiquidSonic's latest Fusion IR-based convolution reverb. This is Illusion. Now, the team at LiquidSonics have proven that they know a thing or two about reverbs in their previous releases, those being Reverberate, VerbSuite Classics, available in the Slate Everything bundle, and more recently, Seventh Heaven, the Brocasti recreation, which I was really impressed with. And I still use this very frequently in my mixes. Now, from a GUI standpoint, Illusion at first glance looks a bit of a blend between Seventh Heaven and Reverberate. Now, we don't really care for how a plugin looks. All we want to know is how it sounds and how it performs. And in the case of Illusion, we want to know what the advantages are over, let's say, all the other reverb plugins out there on the market. Now, in a moment or two, we're going to be running a drum mix through this and a lead vocal, so let us know what you think of Illusion in the comments below. But what's the first advantage of this? Well, I think it is super simple to use. As I said earlier, there are countless reverb plugins out there, many of which I feel need a science degree to master. Thankfully, this is not one of those. Got the preset manager at the top here, obviously different spaces, categories for those spaces to the right of those. I believe over 200 presets in this. Meters in and out, and the out meters are quite interesting because they show us levels for early reflections, late reverb and low boost. We'll touch on this in a minute. On the left hand side we've got early reflections and the late reverb sections. These can be bypassed, they can work together. Obviously the level for each size, flux, which is interesting, adds a bit of modulation to each, and obviously have independent fluxes for each of those, which is nice. Roll off there to take away some of the top ends with a slope from a 6 dB octave through to 36. All very simple so far. In the middle here, we've got a couple of displays, one being analyzer there, second being a section where we can play around with the natural early reflections. Plenty of modes and presets underneath here. And over to the right, pre-delay that we can sync to the BPM of our host if we need to. Width, we've got echoes in the middle here as well, which is quite nice. Can position that off to the left, to the right, or keep it up the center. And 3 more controls down here so that we can play around with the presentation of the ambiences a little bit further. Density to fusion, we've seen those in plenty other reverb plugins, and this one here called low boost. Rather interesting this, we saw this in Seventh Heaven Professional. It's nice just for adding a little bit more body and weight to a reverb. But there's more. You see this little arrow here, expands the view, and we get not 1, not 2, but 3 EQs. We've got a master EQ for the overall reverb. We can EQ the early reflections and the late separately. Obviously, filters, bells, shelves, all predictable EQ stuff. Very easy to get going with. So time to put Illusion to work. I've got a mix here. It sounds fairly decent, but the drum mix and lead vocal needs some space and ambience. Nothing too crazy. I want to be subtle here. I want just enough reverb to give the impression of sort of depth more than anything. Let me give you a quick blast of the mix and then we'll jump onto the drum mix.
I want a jazz band on my hearse wagon, chorus line of girls to sing me a song.
Right, let's drop the vocal and bring in Illusion on the drums. Obviously a little bit too splashy, a bit too big for what I want for this. So let's jump into using a preset. Let's find a good starting point, and I think a room. Let's increase the wet. Now let's flick through a few more of these presets. This being a convolution reverb, it's not going to be as quick as an algorithmic one when you're flicking between presets, but it's smooth, even though there is a little delay. That's quite nice. Let's try this, bring the reverb time down a little bit. Dry wet down, bring the low boost down a bit. That kick drum sounding a bit too boomy now. Might use the master EQ. We're getting there, a bit more subtle. Let's have a little play with this flux on the main tail of the reverb. See if that modulation can bring anything to the table. Let's EQ that late reverb as well. Let's brighten it. try it in the mix. Let's bring the wet dry down a little bit. Now let's go back around that again and incorporate the lead vocal and get a bit of space around that as well. I'm going to start with the vintage reverb category.
I want a jazz band on my hearse wagon, chorus line of girls to sing me a song, blues man to sit on my coffin,
Turn on the early reflections.
to play as they stroll along.
Bring the level up.
Well, folks, now that I've told you my story, hand me a shot of that booze.
That's nice.
If anyone happens to ask you, tell them I got the St. James Infirmary Blues.
Sounds great. To find out my verdicts, do click the card at the top right of the screen or the description below. Hope you guys got something from this. I'm Dan from Production Expert, and I'll see you again soon.